everyone, it's Carol here at Oak House Journals. Big warm welcome from me as always. It's another Monday, so for me it's another Margarete Miller collage challenge, and I'm going to do challenge number or assignment number 20 today. Prompts here, working paper here, and I just keep these to one side in a little cello bag, and when they're all done, when the collage is done, I put them in here ready for binding. So let's pop that off to one side. Need to draw my border on that. I read the first prompt, which is an image that features a face. And if you remember in my last video, I had an image of a really lovely old gentleman, gorgeous smile, leathery face, and I thought I could use him. And then thinking outside of the box, I was thinking of other things than humans or animals that had a face. So for example, a watch face. So what I decided to do was to go with a mountain, because a mountain has a face, like the north face of Everest or the face of the Eiger. And I was going to find an image of either of those two mountains and then tie in everything else around a mountain theme. So my gentleman with his leathery face was going to be my Sherpa. A piece of currency, well, I was going to use some currency of the country depending on which mountain I chose to use. Brown paper, well, I was going to stamp on that the logo for North Face, the brand North Face. And stripes, I was going to use the colour coding on climbing ropes, or perhaps an image of lots of ropes, climbing ropes hanging down to make up my stripes. But I started rooting around in these two pouches here. Now, these are the pouches that I've used over the last couple of years and slowly filled up. All images or bits and bobs, receipts, lists, anything like that that I come across that I think might be nice to use, I pop in these two folders, and you'll recognise these two gentlemen in here. These were two that got auditioned last week but I didn't use, but they might come up again in the future. So in the pouches they go, and as you can see, this one's got a bit full and I've got an overflow here. So I was rooting around in here trying to find that leathery smiling gentleman that I've mentioned, and I came across this image. Now, this is just an image I saw, absolutely loved it, thought that it might come in handy for anything that mentioned orange or a swirl. Love everything about this. So my whole idea about basing my collage on a mountain theme went straight out the window, and I'm going to use this lady. So she is going to be the piece I've chosen for my first prompt. The second one is a list. Well, I've got this tiny little list of various bits and bobs that were in a package relating to something I bought, something electronic, because it's talking about battery low indicator, time display. So I think it's something to do with a camera. Piece of currency or play money. Well, I've got a piece of currency here, Vietnamese currency. And I've also got this image of money as well. A piece of brown paper. I've got just this piece with a stamp on it, and I particularly like it because of the check mark and because it's so irregular as well. A tea bag cover. This is obviously going to be the one out of all of my tea bags, simply because of the colour tones are going to work with that image. And finally, bonus stripes. Well, you see me time and time again dig these out of my scrap box and also these packages, and these are just some stripes that were in a Sara Midda book, so I'm going to use those. And I've got some tissue paper here which I splattered with this dressing again for another project a while back, and I've just popped it away to one side. As you can see, it's got the Fly logo as a watermark in the background, and I thought I might use that as my background. Got some scraps here, but I think primarily I'm going to be using that. So that's all my pieces for my assignment this week, and as always, where does this go? Goes on the windowsill in front of me where I can see it. And let's get started and see what I can create. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, because I want to use this as a background, is to more or less cut myself a piece that will fit inside my working border. And I think my collage this week, I'm going to try and get it quite a long, thin one. because I love this image. I don't want to be obscuring it or cutting it down too much. Let me go away. I'll draw my border in on my background card and I'll cut a piece of this tissue paper for the background and I'll be back. Okay, so I've got my border drawn round and I've got my piece of tissue paper here just cut inside that border, and I will be trimming it down in a minute or two. So let's have a play with these pieces. I don't really want to reduce that in size much, and the reason I've gone for some tissue paper as a background is because of this white border around the picture. If I go directly onto the white and not have a background, then that border is lost, and I think I need it to stand out a little bit. So I like her, I want her as my main focal element. My next biggest piece is this. I'm going to pick up the colours from across the top and down the side here. They've got tones of orange, which is working with what's on the picture, and I need to get some evidence that this is a note, so I'm going for that number up there. The obvious place to have it is up here, and have this border lining up with those numbers and that note denomination up there with the border underneath it, and trying to get that as straight as I can. Now I've got my lines here, and the reason I've gone for these is because I've got some purple in here. The colour tones here are perfect for this image. I don't have any colour tone of that either in the note or any of the other pieces unless I've got it in here. So that's why I've lifted out these. I want to get as much of it showing as I can, and I'm going to stagger it slightly at the top there. That looks like that will work. I may well trim down that edge, but I'm leaving it for now. And I'm going to pull those in a minute or two. I've got my brown paper. Now, I don't want the stamp showing at all, and I may need to rip this down, but I am liking that circle. I'm going to try just getting that under there, and it more or less needs to go. I normally don't mind if my prompt pieces go outside my working area. That's absolutely fine. It's just a guide for me, but I certainly don't want them coming off the page. So this needs moving up. So I'm going to do that. Now this is my list, and I could have it underneath here, but I don't really want too much of it showing. I like the grey circles because they're working with the swirls that I've got going there, and the white is working with the border of the picture, but I don't really want too much of that showing, so I could have it tucked under here and cut it off there and just have a few of the list details showing there, and that would work. But then it's covering up my check mark on my brown paper. So how about if I put it under here? So I've got 3 of my list details showing and 3 of the circles. That works. And the only place for this one to go really is down here. I'm going to move the list up a little bit because that tea bag was covering it, and the border almost blends into that list on the left hand side. And I'm wondering about pulling that in like that so that this bit of detail is following on from the list. I've got a gorgeous image here. Everything else is tucked away behind it. I've got another couple of pieces. Definitely would like to use that because of the colour tones on it. So I definitely want to try and fit that in somewhere. Certainly want to fit that in. And this is looking way too big. It looks like it's just sat on top. So I am wondering about ripping it away so that I can have more of my image and I actually get some of the detail that shows that it is a tea bag. I'm going to open up my tea bag and rip it. So actually I'm just going to rip it. Let's do that. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get the tea bag out without ripping it too much. There we go, there's my tea bag coming out. So let's try ripping this. See how that looks. I could line up this corner with the stamp underneath. I hope you can see that. And then I could actually take away just a little bit down there, maybe a little bit down there. Yeah, that's looking quite dominant there, but I think it'll be okay. And this piece, I want these coppery tones, so Let's have a look and see which is the best way round. I'm just going to hold that and try and slide this under. I'm just going to trim across those two coins there, trying to get it to overlap with the brown paper. So I'm going to move the brown paper in a little bit. I've more or less got the idea of how this is going to be. I'm going to use this portion down here to get in some more of these. And looking at the colours I've got obviously got that purple there, trying to pick up the darker tones here and here in this tea bag. So I need to try and pick up some more of that purple. Looking at the colours, if I turn this one round and fold it over, I'm thinking I've got that purple again. This colour picks up some of the lighter colours on there, and this colour is almost this. So that works. But also, if I turn it round, I can get that as the purple, that as the lighter tone in here, that as some of the orangey brown there, and then that as some of that. Ooh, that one, and that one work better than that one, and that one, and that one, if you get my meaning. I could just have it on the bottom there like that. I think that looks better than that. This just looks like it's put there. It doesn't feel like it's unifying. Whereas if I do this, then I think that looks better on the top as well, like that. I'm just going to go away now and glue all this together, and I'll be back in a moment, and we'll go through the prompts. There's my background glued down. I've not trimmed it, I've just left it to within my working border. So the lines were next, and I'm butting the lines up against this note, and the top I'm lining up with that line on the note. This I was just going to tuck in here and line up with the purple. Need to get my brown paper in. I'm going to cut away that circle on this, and I can reduce the size of this. Yep, I'm going to have that like that. So I'm going to put some glue behind this. Line my stamp up under the corner of my image, and I do know that I need to lift everything up. So this side is more or less stuck, but this left hand side isn't. Okay, I'm going to glue my tea bag onto the brown paper. As I'm gluing this, I'm thinking I should have actually glued my tea bag closed, but I haven't, so I'll have to do that in a minute or two. Go in here and glue this bit now. Should have done that before I even started, either that or separate my paper, but I didn't, so I have to try and rectify it now. And now all I need to do is to put this on. So this is all glued down now and ready to go on my background, but as you can see here, I've got a little transparent piece on the note, and when it's on here where I want it placed, I'm not really picking up any of the background. What I'm picking up is just plain white tissue paper, and it's too much, I think, whereas if I pop this behind it, it softens it and it almost looks like you're picking up some of the splodges. So I'm going to glue that little scrap behind. So that will go on there like that. So to all intents and purposes, this is finished and it just needs gluing down onto the background. But this isn't quite sitting right for me. This just looks like it's been splodged on there. So what I thought might be nice is if I use one of my little stamps here and do some stamping over the top of that. So I'm going to glue this onto my background, and then I'll come back in with one of these stamps and some archival ink. Okay, so let's have a look and see which one of these I need to use. This piece of acetate on the top has the images of the stamps, so I'll be able to see which one I want to use. So I've got a London check mark and some squiggly lines going off to the left. don't think that is going to work. I've got another one which is more detailed, and that will work because the squiggle line is going off to the left hand side. So I could sort of stagger that next to this one and have it going off onto the lines there. But I've also got this one here, and I could use that as well. So that just kind of takes that check mark that was on the brown paper over onto here. I'd like to put a little bit more on here, and I'm looking at this little piece down here, so I'm going to stamp that. I don't think I'll be good enough to get a perfect match across there, but I am going to give it a try, so let's do that. I've already got it on my block. Fingers crossed, everybody. Oh yeah, not too bad, liking that. And I'm just wondering now whether I go in with that word priority on there or whether or not it'll be too much. And I think it's actually saying what I want it to say, which is a blend of fine, and obviously it would continue on to say tea from Assam. So I think it might be a shame to put that over that writing. It would hide it pretty well, but I think it would spoil it, and I don't think that would work down there particularly well. Yeah, I'll stamp it underneath there, I think. So there we go, everybody. I'm calling this one finished for today. I do have a little scrap on my desk off to one side here, one of these lines that was left over. Let's just move those. And I am toying with the idea of putting that there. Let me just have a quick look at that, whether I like it or not. Like that. Let's try turning it round a little bit. Would trim it down if I do decide to use it. I'm just thinking it would break up that transition down there slightly if I did use it. And I would have my rule of 3 in, 3 lots of stripes. Let's see if I can just pop it there. I'm going to glue that in place. So let's quickly do that. This is my finished piece for assignment number 20, and quickly going through the prompts: an image that features a face. Well, I've got this lovely fashion image here, a list just down the side there, a piece of currency or play money. Well, I've got a piece of genuine currency here, and I haven't got play money, but I have got some other images of money. I've got a little piece tucked in behind there and a piece here. Brown paper, well, this was my piece ripped off an envelope, and the stamp, as you know, was tucked away under this corner. A tea bag cover, well, that's this portion here, and bonus was stripes. So going with the rule of 3, I've got some there, some here, and some here. And then I just went with a little bit of stamping over the top to try and pick up the circles here and here and the swirls, and then my splattered tissue paper in the background, just so there was a nicer transition onto my white working background. Thanks everybody for watching, really appreciated your company, and I hope you'll join me next week or next Monday for assignment number 21. Until then, have a great week. I hope you get lots of crafting in. Take care and keep smiling. Bye bye now.